Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to The Players. My name is Babs Bartlett. I'm going to be your host this evening. We have a real treat in store for you tonight. The Sarasota Poetry Theater is very proud to present its second in its Yakkety Jazz concerts. And we're going to be listening to the many voices of Soulspeak. And I only have one recommendation, and that is do anything you want. But the most important thing is open your heart and open your soul for the many voices of Soulspeak. Thank you.
Well, you know, he's just a loser. He is. What can you say about him?
Oh, yeah.
Except he's a loser.
Oh, yeah.
He is. What can you say?
Well, how about Dear Loser? That's right. You're the loser. Your mother was correct all along. And we wish we could say we're sorry. But in fact, we're not. We waited an extra week to notify you because we wanted you to squirm. Wanted you to twist in the wind just a little longer.
That's right.
And yes, the contest was rigged.
It was.
Everybody paid off the judges but you.
Dumb it.
If you weren't such a loser, you'd have figured this out for yourself. Consequently, you aren't to pass go. You aren't to collect $200.
No way.
Jail, however, a definite possibility. There'll be no new cars, no fantasy vacations,
Forget it.
not even a shiny medal or a chest to pin it on.
Nothing for you, baby.
And furthermore, there's no use appealing to our good nature. We have none.
Not a bit.
There's no use explaining. We're not listening. Do not attempt to call, write, or visit us. We're not interested in you, and we don't have time for your problems.
Not a minute.
But you might try Jerry or Ricky or Montel.
Oh, yeah, Montel. I like it.
And be sure you tell them how you dream of dating your sister.
Yeah, we like that one.
So they'll be sure to know you're a real loser.
You are, too.
Sincerely, the judges.
Yeah, what a loser.
You're a loser.
Thank you. That poem was one I was always a little hesitant to get up in front of people and do, but most people enjoy it. I think there's a little bit of loser in each one of us, and even if there isn't, I think there's somebody out there that we'd like to address that to at times. This next poem is one that I did about one of our modern day annoyances, as I see it, things like cell phones and pagers, and this is a little more close to home to me. I look at the TV in the evenings and I see all these ads for the Psychic Healing Network. So this poem is to all those psychic healers.
Well, here it comes. The psychic healing, brother. Get up your money, you're gonna need it. Don't forget, it's only money, brother. Only money.
Went to see a psychic healer who anointed my feet with sacred oils. Said I should sacrifice an aardvark in my living room and pay $25. And then I would know true peace and joy.
Only money, brother. Dig in. You can find them nickels. Come on.
Went to see a psychic healer who opened my heart chakra with a crystal pendulum. Said I should make love to a fat woman twice and pay $50. And then I would experience universal love.
Yeah, brother. All that money, don't you worry, you'll get there.
Oh my, psychic healer.
Went to see a psychic healer who massaged the lumps on my skull. Said I should bathe in pureed asparagus every night for a month and pay $75. And then I would find my higher self.
You will, brother. Right at the bottom of your pocket, dig in. We need the money here at Psychic Man, we do.
Went to see a psychic healer who manipulated my aura. Said I should volunteer to be a crash test dummy and pay $100, and then I would be one with the universe.
Oh, you will too, baby. As long as you got the money, you can be anything you want.
And now I'm going home, and I'm going to take a nap. And when I get up and go on about my life in the same manner as always, I'll still have difficulty expressing my anger, still love, hate my parents, still feel inadequate much of the time. But I won't have to wonder why I'll be a little short on the rent this month.
No need to worry, brother. Just money. No need to worry, brother. Just money.
Thank you.
This next number is going to be a real spooky one, so watch out. If you have a partner beside you, you might like to put your arm around him or her and hold tight, because we're going on a little car ride with some snakes. In fact, you never know what's crawling around the floor out there, so be careful. Be very careful. It's like when you were a kid, looking under that bed at night when you were 5, wondering what was there. Well, you know, you never want to find out. Sedan pulled up beside me, and the passenger door opened, and he asked me if I wanted a ride. I was about to say no when these two snakes just dropped out of the car and crawled into the bushes. And I bent over to get a better look inside the car. And it was absolutely full of snakes. White snakes. Some of the snakes were black and shiny, like the jaguar. But the rest of them were all kinds of colors. Red and yellow and turquoise. And I thought, that they were the most beautiful snakes that I'd ever seen.
Red snake.
So I said, yes, I'd like a ride. And as I got in, the snakes just parted. And after I sat down, they slowly started to touch me. And then they were crawling all over me. And I giggled because they felt so good. And because I'd never been touched that way before. And then I looked over at the driver, but all I could see were my own black, shiny eyes looking back at me. Thank you. Now, some people think that that poem is really about snakes, but it really isn't about snakes, is it? Anyway, all of you can have your own ideas, and that's the wonderful thing about poetry, is that we come out halfway to meet you, and then you have to use your imagination and your soul to come the rest of the way. So that poem, I'm sure, has a special meaning for everybody, and maybe there are some people that just don't want to have anything to do with snakes. But the next number is a little bit dreamier. In fact, it was created from a dream, and the name of it is Dreams. This morning, I found that all my dreams had caught up with me. The strange clothes in my closet, the messy toilets, and that strange black something or other that keeps knocking at my door. We're all gathered around my bed like a tribe of Amazons.
Hush about it, baby.
And seated at my feet were all 102 pieces of my fine wedding china, demanding to know their fate.
In the treetops.
So I told them that I would keep 2 cups and 2 saucers to remember 2 people who had never drunk coffee together.
When the wind blows.
And seated on my left was my father, and on my right was my son. And they asked me what I had learned in my life.
The cradle will rock.
And I said, I had learned nothing, but that I could feel the force of the universe pounding through my veins.
When the bow breaks.
And somewhere, a seabird sped up a dark river, heralding my death.
The cradle will fall.
So I got out of bed, and I built a bridge.
Down will come, baby.
And when I was finished, I stood on top of it and looked down into the river of my soul.
Down, come baby.
And I saw a million stars. And one of them was mine.
Cradle and all.
Thank you very much. I hope that will give you a little better night's sleep than the snakes one. But you know, sometimes nightmares can release things like, well, who knows what. We don't want to know, do we? Anyway, Dreams was created from a dream poem, and poetry can be as easy as that, as just telling a story about a dream you had or something else that happened to you, which is the way we do it, because all of these poems are little stories, and we like to tell them to you, and we hope you like to listen to them.
This poem is called White Room. Well, you know, in the beginning, everybody's in their own little white room.
Oh,
That's
right.
where they are. What does it look like? Well, it looks like the Holiday Inn or the Marriott. That's what it looks like.
Sure.
Yeah, I like Holiday
Except
Inn.
it's not really a room. It's just kind of feels like a room. And to tell you the truth, it's not really white either. It just kind of
green or blue.
feels white because there's no difference
Oh,
How does that work?
between you and the room.
In the room,
So,
really? Ooh,
We call it the white room.
yeah, white room, man.
Yeah,
White
That's
room.
what we do. It's a white room, you know.
Oh, okay.
But listen,
What?
the important thing about the white room is not what it looks like.
No.
What is it?
What is it? What is it? Tell us.
The important thing is that everybody, sooner or later, leaves the white room.
Oh.
Leave the white room.
And where do they go?
Yay, where do we go?
Where do they go?
Yeah,
Well,
where do we go? Where do we go?
They go into the big room.
Oh, the big,
That's where they go.
big room.
What does the big room look like? Well,
Yeah. What does it look like?
Yeah.
looks like Grand Central Station.
Oh,
Tell you the truth,
okay.
you know? Big room, people coming out of tunnels and going back down into other tunnels.
All
And
kinds of people, huh?
there are these little signs. They're over the tunnels, you know. They say Hope or Peoria or
Peoria. Yeah, I love Peoria.
Eternity, you know.
Eternity.
Just names all over the place. And some of them, you know, you think you can read them, but when you get up close and you look at them, they kind of disappear.
Read anything.
I think he's making this
You
up.
know, like the newspaper headlines that you try to read in dreams, they just
Yeah.
fade away. You just can't quite make them out, you know. And,
Oh, he's
well,
full
listen,
of it. Oh, he's full of it.
the important thing about the big room is not what it looks like either. That's who cares?
Yeah.
The real important thing is,
Is what?
you guessed it,
Wow.
there are other people besides you in the big room.
Well, you told us that.
Millions of them, you know. And
that's a lot of
sometimes they'll come up to you and they'll kiss you, just like that.
Yeah,
And
okay.
sometimes they'll come up to you and they'll kick you, and you kick just like that, you know. And every once in a while, you know, nobody really knows why, everybody starts to kick everybody else, and you have your great wars and your great famines, you know. And then every once in a while, everybody starts to kiss everybody else, and you have your great spiritual revivals, you know? That's what it's like in the big room. And
do it.
you'd think with all that kissing and all that kicking, everybody would like to get the hell out of the big room, but they don't. People like the big room. They like the action. They love the action in the big room. They can't stay out of the big room, you know? And some people, they like it so much they don't even know that they were in the white room to start with, you know? And they'll come up to me here in Sarasota where I live, and they'll go, Justin, listen, you're always talking about the white room. It's like the Holiday Inn or the Marriott, but it's not really. It's white, but it's not really. What is it? What the hell is the white room?
Yeah,
what the hell is it?
What is it? What is it?
I say to them, listen, you know that the white room is like Helen Keller before she knew she was Helen Keller.
Go on.
Before she knew how to speak, you know? And if you were to open up the top of her head and you looked inside, well, she'd be laughing and screaming and farting and pissing all at the same time. That's what the white room is like, you know? And some of us like to go back there, and we like to kind of hang out, you know? And then we like to come back out, and we like to sing these little songs for you, these brief chronicles of the times, like Shakespeare called them, these little kisses from us to you, from the white room. And they are kisses too, believe me, you know, even though they're a little messy sometimes. When you get them, you know they're kisses. They are. Believe me, I think you should know that. They are kisses.
You're full of it.
Yeah, they are.
You're full of it.
Thanks. We're going to do something a little different now. You know, one of the miracles of poetry is that it can cover both the comic moments and the very sad moments that we go through in our lives, and that poetry makes them beautiful because it speaks the soul's truth. It's not the mind's truth or the self's truth or the TV's truth or the newspaper's truth. It's the soul's truth, which is always beautiful, no matter how sad it may be or how tragic it may be. That's why people go to tragedies, because they're darkly beautiful and true. Anyway, the name of this poem is Tacos. One of those dark days,
Dark skies.
that kept getting darker and darker,
Dark lies.
and darker. And when it finally got too dark, I said to Scylla, I said, why don't we get some tacos?
I love the night.
And Scylla said, yeah.
I love the dark, warm night.
Dark skies.
And I said, why don't we drive across the bay and sit in the car and look at all the city lights.
I love to walk through the night.
White lights.
And Scylla said, yeah.
I love to feel it around me.
Bright lights.
But when I looked across the bay, everything was dark and flat, dull, and
I love the night.
yellow.
Dark.
I love the night.
I kept saying to myself, you know, I can't see shit anymore.
I love to lie down in the night.
I can't see shit.
I love to lie down in the night.
Then this little song popped up in my head. It went like this. It went, first we go blind, and then we all die.
I love the wind on
First we go blind, then we all die.
I love the stars.
Right.
I love the moon.
But I didn't want to hear that song. I wanted to look across the bay like I used to,
I love the city lights.
when everything was new.
I love the dark water.
Right. White.
And I'd imagine all of those bright, intricate lives moving from room to room.
I love the night.
Right.
And I tried.
The dark, warm night.
I tried, but everything stayed flat and dull and blurry.
But sometimes
I realized I didn't care anymore about anything
sometimes it gets so dark.
or anybody's life,
I can't find my way.
Right.
not even my own.
Sometimes
And I sat there looking out at the flat, black water, and Scylla said to me, she said, why don't we sit outside on the bench?
sometimes I lose my way.
And I said, is there a breeze outside?
Sometimes
Right. White.
And Scylla said,
I feel so alone.
yeah. So we sat outside on the bench, myself and Scylla and the dog. And
So dark.
as I looked out at the white, lifeless sailboats, I wanted to say something to someone
Not even one little voice.
White.
about how alone I was.
Not even one little light.
But I didn't.
Not even one little light.
I didn't say anything to anybody.
So dark.
Not to Scylla
So dark.
or the dog.
I need a light.
Not even myself.
I need a light.
Right.
I didn't say anything
White.
to anyone.
Go for the light.
Not even
Go for the light.
myself.
Go for the light.
Right.
We're going to do a little something for you here. You know, I want to talk a little bit about our programs with at-risk kids. About half of our life is spent theatrically, in the sense of you making these poems and then performing them for people. And we have an active program. We're one of the largest publishers of poetry in the United States. It's hard to believe in this little town. We published 4 books last year, and we're well on our way to 6. In terms of poetry, that's a big publisher. But we do an enormous amount of work with kids at risk, because poetry is something that they need to get able to say what's happening to them. Your kids at risk, that's a nice term, but it really means kids who have been beaten up in many ways at very early ages. They're very angry, they're dark, they're violent, they're troubled, all of those things that they just can't attend the normal schools. They've often broken the law. They're in deep trouble with drugs. But underneath that exterior, which is tough and if it is angry and is violent, they're living in very small, dark rooms. And they need some way to start to speak out from those dark rooms, because they're very scared inside. They're very frightened, and they're extremely alone, much more alone than I ever was. I think, when I look at them sometimes. It's hard to believe, but we teach them how to do this poetry. They do it in groups. They like it. They tell stories about themselves, basically. And they do it to music. This is a very old poetry, by the way. This is called tribal poetry, or in fact antiphonal poetry. It goes back to the times of before Homer. There's a speaker, there's a responding chorus. It's done to music, and the poetry was generally spoken to the gods. You're the gods tonight because you paid money, or some of you get in without paying, but whatever. You are the gods, so that we speak to you. But it's a very human poetry that anybody can do who's willing to open up. And you know, in the first couple of weeks with these kids, they just look at us like we're just the weirdest bunch of guys they ever saw. But after a couple of weeks of us doing our songs for them, our poems for them, because these are confessional poems, these are just how we feel. This is the world that we are, as dark as it is, and as light as it is, and as loving and as angry and as lonely. That's what poetry allows you to do, to speak your soul, which is very complex. It's all of the beautiful and ugly things that you are. It's really who you are, not the face you put on in the mirror every morning, as we all do. And once that your soul has a chance to speak, that the soul always speaks the truth, the soul's truth. And it's beautiful. And for one moment, those kids are connected, and every kid in the room, once one kid makes that breakthrough, the others sit there. It's the first honest talk they've perhaps heard all of their lives. It's the heart's talk, the soul's talk. It's not TV talk, it's not radio talk, it's not all that junk that's just flying around here, that insincere talk. You know, these songs of the soul are completely disinterested. They have no axe to grind. They simply say, this is the world that I am. Take me as I am. Once that happens, they recognize that, and they start to join in even more. And after 4 or 5 weeks, they're making poems up. We put them on the internet. We publish their poems in your written form, but of course we also like to have people hear them actually speak out about things that they could never thought they could speak out about before. They thought the roof would cave in, they'd be ashamed, but they can speak about them. They find out that they're true and they're beautiful, and that everybody joins in with them. It's a communal poetry. It's very powerful. This is not a poetry where people go into corners and scribble. We take our chances in front of you. And in fact, these kids do. And because it's beautiful, we're willing to do it. What I'd like to show you is how it's done. Something that you may want to try yourselves in your moments when you have some soft music playing. Yeah, let me just get something here. What I'd like somebody with strong lungs to do, you know, how this oral poetry is done, it's done spontaneously. We don't memorize it. It changes from time to time. We basically tell it the way you would tell jokes or gossip. You have something funny or nasty to say about somebody, and you can tell a long, involved joke or gossip without even thinking about how you're doing it. It comes out of you. How does that happen? It happens because the genius of being human is the ability to tell stories. It distinguishes us from animals. We tell stories in many, many ways, but the most direct way, and the way that blew the minds of the ancients, was to speak out the story. You can dance it out, you can play it out, you can sing it out, but to actually speak it out. What you hear is the sound of the soul speaking. It's a truth, it's a beauty to it that's, when it hits it, it just sets you on fire, and it joins you with others for a moment out of your loneliness together. What the poet does is he imagines the scene as Homer did. Homer did poems that lasted days. And he would simply see Agamemnon and Achilles fighting or going after Paris and whatever happened, and he would just spin it out in his own extravagant and beautiful way. But that's the same way the kids do it. They simply imagine what's happening to them, and they go forward and they start to describe it, and it always comes out as a poem. Because it's the soul only speaks in poems, doesn't speak in prose. Anyway, what we use is a technique called seed words with kids, and we are able to make them talk about things through stories they couldn't talk about normally. It just comes out of them. It winds its way out like a miracle. To show you how it works, if we generally use 7 words, for some reason that over a period of time, that 7 words seems to be seed words, seem to be words that will produce a poem. When you use longer strings of words with kids, it turns into a story. But if what I would want from you, just at random, just to yell out some words, and I'd like the basic words, not like trombone or insignificant, but I'd like words like like lungs, eye, teeth, mother, father, blood, river, stone, valley, cloud, sky, sun, moon, stars. The words that are in your DNA that basically are so basic they go back to the beginning of speech. And I'll spin a story out for you, a story poem, and all of these oral poems are story poems. You can't make up any other kind. They come out of you automatically. You take your chances whether you're going to flop or fall down, but we're willing to do it, and the kids are too. So if somebody could really yell out with a good set of lungs, we could hear you, we'll write them down, and then I'll try to spin something out for you and just give you a sample of what the kids do. Can I have some words? Just one word. Cloud. God. Rocks. Heart. 3 more. Crystal. Morning. Storm. Is that 7? Sounds like it. And one other thing about oral poetry, that's a poetry that loves music because it excites the right-hand side of your brain. And in fact, the reason ancient poets always worked to music, it allowed the story to come out. You kind of go into a state, if you will, or you kind of go into a kind of relaxed state. And we always play slow, rhythmic music for kids. It's a speech-level music. It allows you to compose to it. We have some music here we'll play, and the thing that I ask the kids to do is when I put up 7 words for them, and I sometimes will seed them. If I want them to talk about their father, I have some words that will make them do it, or their mother, or their brother, or their fears, their particular fears about violence or tenderness. And those seed words, if I have 20 kids in a class, each one of them will produce a different poem automatically with the same 7 words, because each of them has their own soul story to tell. Each of them is unique, even though our souls know each other automatically. They're all different. It's one of those amazing things. Anyway, let's have some music and let's see what happens. The words are cloud, God, rock, storm, heart, crystal, morning. Bring the music down a little bit. Thanks. Well, it was one of those days when I wanted to tuck my heart away, like a fine piece of crystal that had been cracked too many times. It was early morning, and the sun was just coming up through the clouds. Some people say that God looks down at us from high up. But most of my life has been spent on rocky ground, working my way through storms, working my way through storms. Change now. Anyway, in fact, you may want to try that. I think in your program there are some seed words. It's something that you can do. It shows you the power of the stories. The human ability to tell stories is our strongest instinct. And if you do it, you'll be surprised. If you play some nice guitar music or something that's soft, get into a dark room, close your eyes, just try to connect the dots as you wish to connect them. You'll be very surprised what comes out of you, either on paper or you could speak it out too, which will really blow your mind when it comes out, to see that you can do it. Everybody can be a poet. This comes from the days when everybody did poetry. That's how people basically communicated. Anyway, we're going to take about a 10-minute break now to set the stage up for Larry Vanieri. And we're going to have a rocking half hour with him, and we hope you enjoy him. Thanks very much.